Shot clock. Crouch comes inside, goes up, and finds the bucket by the combination of Jenkins and Crouch. Crouch moving, takes it to the key, gonna lead back around, pulls the three, knocks it down.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Brevard Sports Network. And I tell you what, some of the best parts of my job sometimes aren't attending events, aren't being able to be there when big goals or baskets or touchdowns are scored. No. Sometimes the best part of what I do for Brevard Sports Network is catching up with student athletes from Brevard County that have gone on to college and done tremendous things. And tonight I am here with one of those student athletes who has gone on to college and done tremendous things. And you know what? He's not finished yet. He's a 2017 graduate of Titusville High School, outstanding student athlete, and we're going to talk about the student part of the athlete because it's big in his book. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome here tonight, one-on-one with former Terrier and now Embry Riddle University men's basketball player, Mr. Romeo Crouch. Romeo, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing awesome, Alan. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get to work here, and I want to talk to you about the student athlete part of what you do, because when you look at, you graduated with honors from Titusville High School. You know, when you read your bio for Embry Riddle, it says 2019-2020 had one of the greatest single seasons in program history. You do it all. Score points, you play defense, and we're going to get to that. But the most impressive part, perhaps, Romeo, is the SSC, the Sunshine State Conference Commissioner's Honor Roll recipient, the NABC Honors Court awardee. Talk about your academics, if you would, and why it's so important to you.
Yeah, well, academics has always been top priority for me. You know, my dad instilled it at a young age. You know, he taught me how important it was going to be for me to be successful. You know, I had to make sure if I'm going to be an athlete, I got to make sure I'm doing it in the classroom first. So I've always held it at a high standard, and coming to Embry Riddle, you can't be a slack. You got to be able to, you know, hang with everybody, because this is a very prestigious school academically. So you got to be able to, you know, perform in the classroom as well. So,
you know, the Sunshine State Conference as a whole, you look at the schools that are in that conference, and to be on that commissioner's honor roll, I just want to reiterate to people just how big that is. I mean, that's huge, you know. So congratulations on the academic part. And what advice would you have to the student athlete out there, Romeo, that is good at what they do, but maybe getting to that part of their high school career, maybe they're that tweener, you know, between that sophomore and that junior year, or that junior and that senior year, and the academics are starting to go down a little bit. Maybe they're reading their own press. Maybe they think they don't need to excel in the classroom anymore. What would you tell them?
well, I'll let you know that this, you're not going to be able to play basketball or football or baseball, run track. Excuse me. You're not going to be able to do that forever. So you got to make sure you're mental, you know, you're smart. You got to make sure that that's going to be able to carry you when, you know, your legs are not working as good, your body's not performing that like it used to when you were younger, because you're going to get old one day, and you're going to live a lot more years of your life not playing the sport that you're playing, you know. So I'm going to make it to pro, but a lot of players don't make it to pro. So they have to be able to say that they got a lot out of school, they learned a lot, they got a great degree, and now they can go on and get a job that, you know, they'll be successful in and they can have a long career in. So it's bigger than sports. You got to be very smart, and you got to be able to, you know, go into anywhere and be able to leave your mark.
You originally attended Presbyterian and played for the Blue Hose. Tell me about your time there and why it is you decided that, you know what, I think what's best for me is to transfer to Embry-Riddle. Tell me about that decision.
Okay, so coming out of high school, I wanted to go Division I, and I had a couple offers Division I, but Presbyterian was my first visit. When I got there, I liked the area. I liked what the school had to offer, and I had a very good 2 years. I got a lot out of it with Coach Kearns there. He's now at Appalachian State, but we had a really good, successful 2-year run, and it came to a time when we were doing so well that he got a bigger job, went to Appalachian State. So he got a bigger job and he left. And so that left me with the decision, do I want to stay here or do I want to try something else? So I wanted to go back home. My dad, he was in a couple car accidents at the time. So I felt like I needed to be closer to home just to see everyone. My mom moved back to Florida. So I wanted to be closer to home so I could see my family. And my first visit in Florida was Embry-Riddle, and I couldn't say no. The school is awesome. They have everything you need. It doesn't matter that they're D2. They have everything a Division I has, and I couldn't be more happier.
Talk about that, Romeo, because I think it's important that people understand, especially with the way the transfer portal is now, that,
Yeah.
nobody cares anymore if you're playing D2 or D3. That stigma has long been gone. Talk about that to the student athlete today. Tell them it's not important that you have to be a D1 guy.
Right. I mean, you could look into the NBA today. There's a bunch of guys out of JUCO, out of D2, out of D3 even that are in the NBA making their mark. So it doesn't matter what level you go to out of high school. It's just all about where do you fit the best. And me coming to Embry-Riddle, I felt like I fit the best here. I was able to be a point guard. I was able to be a scorer. I was able to be everything that I thought I was as a player. And thankfully, my coaches, Coach Ritter and Coach Keller, they put me in position to be everything I wanted to be as a player. So they just gave me a great opportunity that I couldn't pass up.
If you guys aren't listening to this out there, and I'm being sincere when I say this, you have to look, you student athletes in high school right now, you have to take it from a guy that's been there and done that. And Romeo's not done yet. He is not done yet. We're going to get to that in a minute. But first of all, man, I have to brag on what you've done at Embry-Riddle. We talk about the academic side of the equation, and I've already hinted at the fact that, your bio says that you had one of the greatest single seasons in program history, and people are seeing your highlights and numbers up on the screen. This past year, you led the team in rebounds, which was tremendous, in points at 20.7 points per game. And, by the way, you were second on the team this year in rebounding, tied really. The guy just ahead of you at 5.7. I'm sorry. I'm looking at it's not in order. You were tied for second. So you lead the team in scoring. You're rebounding. You're playing both sides of the court. In 2019 and 2020, listen to this. Listen to these accolades as you watch his highlights. 3-time SEC Defensive Player of the Week, averaged 19.2 points, 5.8 assists, 4.1 rebounds, and 3 steals per game. Now, Romeo, I'm going to stop right there, and while your highlights are still rolling, talk about the importance of playing both sides of the floor.
Yeah, so no matter where you go, what level you're playing at, if you want to be on the court, you got to be able to produce on both ends. It's not all about just shooting threes. It's not all about just, getting rebounds. It's about doing the whole package. And if you want to be at the best level, at the highest level there is, you have to be able to be a very premier player on both sides of the floor. And that's something I always wanted to pride myself on. I was always known more for my defense, growing up rather than my offense. And when I knew that I lacked in my offense. So I put a lot of emphasis on my offense. So I already had the defense. Now I needed to improve on offense. And when I did that, it all came together. And now I have a lot more opportunities to be able to play, for a pretty long time.
We're here with Romeo Crouch. And Romeo, they don't have the bio up for this year yet. They will. But I can go on reading last year for forever. I mean, when you look at this, ranks in the top 10 in 7 different categories in Embry-Riddle's single season record book, including 10th in points, 6th in scoring, 2nd in three-pointers, 9th in assist average, 2nd in both steals and steals average, scored in double figures in 28 of 30 of Embry Riddle's games. Man, I mean, just honestly, congratulations on a great year. You know, you were part of a senior class here, not just at Titusville, but, excuse me, here in Brevard County, that when I looked around the landscape of college basketball this year, there were a lot of Brevard County student athletes from your time here in the county doing some big-time things in college basketball. Talk about the pride you feel to see the success from Brevard County basketball.
Yeah, I knew when I was in high school there was something special going on. It just felt like every team had a couple of guys that were, really, that were going to play the next level and were going to make a mark in basketball. I know their program, they were doing really big things. I just remember the battles with Rockledge. Coco had a bunch of players that played football, but they were also good in basketball. A lot of people in our conference that were just all – Melbourne had a bunch of players. I can go on, but I just knew at that time. I look back at a couple of games today, and I can see that it's still there, but I feel like back when I was in high school, it was at a different level, and the guys were really, they were really, I don't know, it was very competitive, so you had to win, you had to work for every game. It was very competitive.
I was watching a Providence Friar game this year, and the guy says Noah Horkler for 3, and I was like, what? It just blows my mind. But I'm not surprised because all of you were outstanding basketball players. And look, you were part of a Titusville team that won 2, not 1, but 2 district championships. I get an opportunity from time to time to speak to somebody that's very near and dear to your heart. And I want to ask you about Mr. JT Hassel and your relationship with him. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so JT, that's my god brother. Been around since we were little, very little kids, and he took the football route and I took the basketball route, but he's always taught me how to be humble and how to work hard, man. Whenever I was with JT in Titusville, he was always going to the gym or coming back from the gym, always working out. And that's something that I took from him. His work ethic and his humble spirit is what really, inspired me the way I am.
I want to talk about the NBA and D2 basketball players, some of the greatest basketball, Charles Oakley, Earl Monroe, guys like that all played Division II basketball. You are preparing yourself for the NBA draft. Talk a little bit about what's going into that. How are you getting yourself ready for this? And where do you believe you are in this process?
Yeah, so making this transition right now, my focus. I just signed an agent. His name is Mario Scotti out of Italy. I just signed with him probably a couple weeks ago. So right now the process is just about training, running, and then running, getting in shape, being ready for any phone call that I might get. Just being prepared for any moment. So that's basically my process. I'm just training a bunch. Just trying to make sure that I'm prepared for any time I get that phone call.
I don't think people understand, but the NBA draft is only 2 rounds. I know a guy here in Brevard County very well. His name is Terrence Shannon Sr. His son, Terrence Shannon, plays for Texas Tech. Terrence went the overseas route. You'd mentioned that your agent was from Italy. Is playing overseas something you're open to? And is that something that, quite honestly, you would embrace?
Yeah, so I think I would embrace it for sure because, any opportunity to continue playing basketball is a blessing. To be able to continue to do it outside of college, I know so many great players that never got that opportunity. So to even be able to say that I was a pro basketball player is awesome. So, no matter where I end up, I know that that's where I need to be. So I'm just going to bloom where I'm planted. So if that's overseas, if that's in America, it doesn't matter. I'm going to make my mark wherever it is.
Playing overseas, those guys, man, they make a lot of money. As we have seen throughout the course of history, Romeo, especially Olympic history in the early 2000s, I mean, the rest of the world has seemingly caught up to the United States when it comes to basketball. Now, the Redeem team, so to speak, in 2008 came back and took care of that, and the United States has done their thing in the Olympics. But I think it's fair to say that basketball overseas has become just as popular, not in this country, outside of this country as it is in this country. And I think that the opportunity for outstanding players like yourself, I would imagine, is a bit more fruitful overseas, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot more opportunities, a lot more teams. A lot more places to play. In America, you only have the 30 teams here. So over there, there's a lot more countries. There's a lot more teams. So there's a lot of money to be made overseas, just like it is in America. So I don't. And you look at the NBA; those guys are coming. A lot of guys are coming out of Europe or wherever. It doesn't matter where you are. Just if you play basketball, you play basketball. But the opportunities are definitely there overseas.
Yeah, no doubt. We're here with Romeo Crouch, 2017 graduate of Titusville High School, Embry Riddle University. Have you, and this is the one thing I don't know, have you graduated from Embry Riddle yet? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I'm going to be graduating here May 9th. So it's
Okay.
coming up. I'm just finishing up classes, trying to finish strong right now.
Well, congratulations on that. I know that your bio says business management. Is that what you're majoring in?
Yeah, actually, I changed it to marketing.
Okay.
So I think I'm more suited my personality and everything that I like to I like to stand for. So marketing and sales is what I really want to go into. After I get done playing. So.
Well, I can tell you, if you ever wanted one, you'd have a career on the microphone as well, doing some broadcasting. You're really good here on the interview. As you look back over your high school career, and I want to ask you about your high school career, is there one or two memories that stick out in your mind playing for Titusville that when people watch this interview and hear this interview, they'll go, "Oh yeah, I remember that."
Yeah, so I remember the end of my sophomore year. We're playing Rockledge, and it was towards the end of the year. I got my first dunk ever. I remember that. But one of my favorite memories was it was at Titusville. We played Melbourne. I think it might have been my senior year, but we played Melbourne at home, and we had the news station out. Packed house with students and fans. It was awesome, but we ended up winning that game. But Melbourne was also always known as a very, very good team in our and not in our conference, but our district, our area. It's kind of weird. I don't remember how it was, but they were in our area, and it was kind of like a rivalry. So for it to be on TV, to be at home, and everything, that was a very memorable win.
Yeah, no doubt. And what about college? Is there one memory that's I know? Excuse me, in a conference game back at Presbyterian, you dropped at the time what was a career high. In a conference tournament game. Is there a memory that sticks out in college that you're really proud of?
Yeah, well, a memory that I really will never forget in my, all the points and everything is awesome. But my team had the opportunity to go to Hawaii this past year. We went in December, and we went to Hawaii and played Hawaii Pacific, and we played West Virginia State. And those two games were just awesome. A ton of fun to be able to play basketball all the way over there in Hawaii. It was an awesome experience. Student athlete experience was unbelievable. So that was something I'll never forget.
Again, some other players: Scottie Pippen, George Gervin, Manute Bol, Ben Wallace, all D2, all Division II basketball players that went on to have outstanding NBA careers. When you look at the NBA today, what do you like about the game? What do you like? What don't you like about it?
Right now, I see that there's a lot of scoring.
Yeah.
And I love it because the creativity is just endless in today's game. There's so many different ways to score the ball, so many different ways to win on the offensive side. I love that. I just wish it was a little bit more, how people say, like how it was in the back in the day, like a little bit more physical. I wish it was more of that and less talking to the refs. But, that's just my personal opinion. I wish it was more just gritty defense. And instead of worrying about the refs all the time, I wish that was more how it was played.
All right, before we wrap up here, we're going to role play a little bit. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be an NBA general manager, all right? Because you got to sit and talk with these guys. It's all part of the process. Or even an overseas manager. We're sitting in a room, me and you, Romeo, and I look at you and I say, Romeo, tell me what kind of basketball player you are. And you got 1 minute to tell me. What would you say to me?
All right. Well, I would say that I'd be the hardest working player on the team. I'm a chameleon of a bunch of different players. I could score the ball. I could set guys up so they could score the ball. I could rebound. I could play defense pretty much on any guard that I face up against. I'm going to be a leader on the court. You're not going to have to coach me up. I'm going to bring energy in every single way. And I'm going to be high trust, low maintenance. So basically, you can trust me with any task, any responsibility, and you're not going to have to check up on me to make sure I'm getting it done. So I'm just going to be one of those type of players.
I absolutely love it. And you don't need to look any further than in one particular game. He had 8 steals in one game one time. The leading scorer for Embry-Riddle this year, and former Titusville Terrier, Romeo Crouch. Romeo, thank you so much for taking some time out of what I know is an extremely busy period for you. But before I let you go real quick, I got to ask you, what is part of that training regimen for you? What do you have to do every day training wise?
Yeah, so number one, it's my diet. Besides the training, it's the diet. It's so important. I try to eat as little sugar as possible, eat a lot of organic and healthy things. But that's most important for me. But other than that, right now I'm in the stage where I'm just trying to get my lungs ready. So I'm running a lot. I feel like I'm a track runner. I'm a marathon runner, whatever you want to call it. But I'm trying to run it as much as possible just so I'm ready. My legs are ready. I got weightlifting 3-4 times a week, and then on the court at least 5-6 times a week, and I'm resting 1 to 2 days depending on how intensive that week was. But that's really what it looks like for me.
As you go into this process, what part of your game do you like, and what part of your game do you feel like you need to work on?
I love my ability to shoot the ball off the
Okay.
dribble or off the catch. That I feel like that's my superpower. That's what's going to carry me through my career. What I do need to work on is my explosiveness, being able to, be that superb rebounder, or just being able to attack the rim with, a lot more power. So that's something I'm going to really focus on this off season.
And if you had to make a comparison to a guy in the NBA who maybe your game is like, to give those that watch a lot of professional basketball, who do you think your game's a lot like that's currently playing in the league right now?
Wow, man, that's a tough one. But if I had to pick one guy that I try to, be like, or that I feel like I'm right now that I play like him, I would say either that duo that was with the Trailblazers, Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum. Like I'm like a
Oh yeah.
culmination of. So that's what I try to aim for.
Well, I tell you what, Romeo, there's no doubt with your work ethic, with what you can do off the floor, certainly with what you've done on the floor, there's no doubt in my mind you will get paid to play this game. There's no doubt about that. And you'll be yet another former Brevard County student athlete, making it big in the world. Thank you so much for taking some time with us here today. Good luck to you. Please keep us posted on your progress, and we'll check in with you as well, okay?
Great, man. Thanks, Alan.
All right, for Mr. Romeo Crouch, I'm Alan Slaughter-Zinski, one-on-one here on the Brevard Sports Network.
Shot clock. Crouch comes inside, goes up, and finds the bucket by the combination of Jenkins and Crouch. Crouch moving, takes it to the key. He'll lead back around, pulls the 3, knocks it down.